December 16, 1944, Belgian forest. American soldiers heard something that froze their blood. A sound they'd never heard before, metal grinding against frozen earth, trees cracking like toothpicks. Then they saw it. 70 tons of German death rolling through the fog. The King Tiger, the most feared tank on earth. Its armor, laughable to penetrate. Its gun could kill anything from 2 miles away. American tankers called their Shermans Ronsons. They lit up like cigarette lighters. One hit you burned alive. The Germans were laughing. They had 45 of these monsters. Americans had desperation and 72 hours to stop them or lose the entire Western Front. What happened next broke every rule in the tank warfare manual. The math was insane. King Tiger's frontal armor, 180 millimeters of hardened steel. American 76mm gun penetration, 88 millimeters. At point-blank range. Do the math. Physically impossible. The Germans knew it. American crews knew it. But someone forgot to tell that to a freezing tank commander named Jim Bates in the village of Stumon. Inscreva-se para que eu possa continuar trazendo histórias de quem venceu o impossível. 2 vídeos por dia. December 19th. 0600 hours. Bates watched a King Tiger crush a jeep like aluminum foil. The sound, metal screaming, men screaming louder. His Sherman's main gun, useless. Anti-tank rockets, the Germans were too far. Bazookas bounced off like tennis balls. The cold bit through 3 layers of uniform. Diesel smoke mixed with morning fog. Every breath tasted like defeat. His hands, numb inside leather gloves, gripped binoculars. He studied that King Tiger. The commander in the cupola kept checking something. His fuel gauge. Again. His face, visible even at 400 meters, showed something Bates recognized. Worry. He had one advantage the manual never mentioned. The King Tiger weighed 70 tons. 70. The Belgian winter had turned every road into frozen mud over soft ground. 6 inches of ice over 2 feet of mud. These monsters needed roads. Paved roads. Americans controlled the crossroads. Every single one. But here's what ripped the German plan apart. King Tigers. Top speed 24 mph on roads, 9 mph cross-country, fuel consumption 1.5 gallons per mile. Americans cut the roads. Suddenly these apex predators were trapped, burning 300 gallons just to relocate. And the Luftwaffe, grounded by weather, no fuel trucks getting through. The Kings were starving. But 48 hours earlier, something had happened that changed everything. Something the tankers didn't know yet. December 17th, 1100 hours, an American P-38 Lightning reconnaissance flight over the Ardennes. Captain Robert Shaw, flying at 8,000 feet, spotted something that made him key his radio twice to confirm he wasn't seeing things. A column of King Tigers, not moving tactically, moving predictably. Same roads, same spacing, same schedule. They were rationing fuel so strictly they couldn't even vary their routes. Shaw circled once, counted 23 King Tigers stretched over 4 miles of road. He plotted their heading, drew a line on his map. They were following the main supply route, the only route to Bastogne. He radioed coordinates to Army intelligence. Within 30 minutes, American engineers received orders. Destroy every bridge on grid lines 45-52, priority immediate. The Germans were driving into a cage. They just didn't know the door was closing. But in Chenogne, 15 miles south, none of this mattered yet. A single King Tiger commanded by Hauptmann Hans Fenner had killed 11 Shermans in 40 minutes. 11. He wasn't just surviving, he was hunting. American radio chatter. Grid 47 Delta is a death trap. Repeat, do not engage the Tiger in 47 Delta. Fenner had positioned hull down on a ridge, only his turret visible, frontal armor at a 35-degree angle. Even lucky shots glanced off like raindrops. His 80mm gun had 12,400-meter effective range. American Shermans had to get within 500 meters to even dream of a kill shot. They were bringing knives to a sniper duel. Inside Fenner's tank, the crew worked like clockwork. Loader Otto Schmidt, 17 years old, hands blistered from handling 80mm shells, could load in 4.2 seconds. Gunner Friedrich Weber had 47 confirmed kills. Driver Klaus Zimmermann knew every gear ratio by feel. They'd been together since Normandy, survived everything, but Fenner kept checking one thing, the fuel gauge. It read 34%. He'd burned through 66% of his fuel-killing American tanks. To get back to German lines, 48 kilometers northeast, he needed 40%. The math was getting tight. Then came the innovation that would change everything. Back in Stoumont, Lieutenant Colonel Hal Edson figured it out. If you can't penetrate the front, don't fight the front. King Tiger's side armor, still 80mm. Rear armor, 80mm, engine deck 40mm, top armor over the engine 25mm. He sent Shermans in packs, not to kill, to circle, like wolves on a bear. But they needed one thing first. Bait, living bait, December 20th, Stoumont, grid 5478. 3 Shermans, crews drawing straws for who leads, emerged from an alley directly facing the King Tiger at 400 meters. Inside the lead Sherman, gunner Tommy Chen's hands shook, not from cold, from the certainty of what came next. Commander Mike O'Brien keyed the intercom. Steady, count with me, we rotate on 44. Loader James Washington, hands on a shell he knew he'd never fire, whispered a prayer. The German commander's radio crackled. Contact, 3 Shermans, range 400 meters, they're not even hiding. He laughed. His gunner ranged the lead Sherman, 388 meters, loaded armor-piercing. The 80mm gun, capable of punching through 180 millimeters of armor at this range, aligned. O'Brien counted 1, 2, 3. His crew could see the German barrel, see it tracking them. Chen's voice cracked. He's got us. O'Brien, 14, 15, 16. The German finger touched the trigger. 22. 2 Shermans burst from a cross street. Grid 5480. The flankers. Perfect timing. The King Tiger commander's face, they could see it through binoculars, went from triumph to terror in half a heartbeat. His turret was facing the wrong direction. 44 seconds to rotate 180 degrees. He had maybe 8 seconds before the flankers fired. His hand slammed the turret traverse control. The electric motor whined. Too slow, too slow. The first American shot came from 180 meters, flanking angle 90 degrees, the 76mm shell, moving at 2,600 feet per second, hit the side armor. 80mm might as well have been paper. The shell penetrated. Inside the King Tiger, the world became shrapnel. The track broke, with a sound like a giant chain snapping. 70 tons lurched, stopped. The driver tried to reverse. The right track was gone, just gone. The tank could rotate, nothing else. Second Sherman fired, engine deck shot. The thin top armor, designed to save weight, never had a chance. The shell punched through into the engine compartment. Maybach HL230 P30 engine, 700 horsepower, 12 cylinders, took a 76mm shell directly into its block. The explosion wasn't fire, not yet. First came pressure. The engine's oil, superheated by combat, vaporized instantly. Then came ignition. The temperature inside that engine compartment went from 2 degrees C to 800 degrees C in 4 seconds. The crew had time to scream. That's all. The commander tried to open his hatch. The metal was already too hot to touch. Third shot didn't need to happen, but hatred has its own mathematics. The round hit the ammunition storage, 40 80mm shells, each containing 2.2 pounds of explosive, detonated simultaneously. The turret, 19 tons of solid steel, separated from the hull. It lifted, rotated in the air, landed 40 feet away, upside down in a snowbank. The 3 bait Shermans never fired a shot. O'Brien keyed the radio. Grid 5478. King Tiger destroyed. Method flanking. Time, 31 seconds from engagement to kill. 31 seconds. The Germans had built a tank that could survive anything from the front. Americans had just proven from the front was a choice, not a requirement. Inscreva-se para ver como os alemães contra-atacaram essa tática. A resposta deles foi genial. But the Germans weren't stupid. They learned fast. Too fast. December 21st, 0800 hours. Wehrmacht issued new tactical doctrine via encrypted radio. All King Tiger units maintain infantry screens. Minimum 50 meters all directions. American tactics rely on flanking approach. Grenadiers will engage flankers before they acquire firing position. And it worked. Brutally. Bastogne. 1400 hours. American Commander Lieutenant Frank Hayes tried the Stumont playbook. His 5 Shermans approached from multiple angles, the textbook flanking maneuver, but this King Tiger had 40 grenadiers in covered positions. The Shermans got within 200 meters. Then the forest erupted. Panzerfaust rockets, shaped charges designed to kill tanks, came from everywhere. Hayes' Sherman took a rocket through the side. The explosion killed his loader instantly. His driver lost both legs. Hayes survived long enough to radio. They've adapted, repeat. Infantry screen, flanking is suicide. The Americans tried again in Manhay. Lost 8 Shermans. Tried in Houghton. Lost 6 more. Every time they tried to circle, German infantry killed them. The flanking trick was dead. The math was bleeding American again. But what neither side knew yet was that the real battle had already been decided. Not by tanks. By something invisible, something nobody was counting. Fuel. The Germans had started the Ardennes offensive with a calculated risk. They had enough fuel for their King Tigers to advance 100 kilometers, but their plan required capturing Allied fuel depots by December 19th. December 21st. The depots were still in Allied hands. Every single one. German fuel stocks, 22% of mission requirement. King Tigers consumed fuel like they were drinking it. Each tank burned 1.5 gallons per mile. Combat operations, constant maneuvering, turret rotation, heater for crew, doubled that. 3 gallons per mile. The math was writing a death sentence. American intelligence officer Captain James Morrison was running the numbers. December 21st, 2200 hours. His calculations covered 3 pages. If King Tigers burn 1.5 gallons per mile normal, 3 gallons combat, and their average 40 miles from supply, and we just destroyed their depot in Sankt Vith, they have fuel for... He stopped. Recalculated. The answer was the same. They have fuel to retreat, or fight, not both. December 22nd, 1400 hours. The weather broke. For the first time in 6 days, sunlight cut through the clouds. Clear skies. American pilots had been grounded for nearly a week, watching Germans advance, unable to help, not anymore. At Metz Air Base, 56 P-47 Thunderbolts received orders. Priority target, fuel convoys. Coordinates follow. The pilots didn't need motivation. They'd watched from the ground long enough. Captain Mike "Hammer" O'Donnell led the first flight, 8 P-47s, each carrying 8 50 caliber machine guns and 2 500-pound bombs. At 0900 hours, they were airborne. The sound, Pratt & Whitney R2800 radials, 2,000 horsepower each, was the sound of vengeance. O'Donnell's briefing had been simple. Find anything with German fuel. Make it stop being fuel. Grid 62 Alpha. A German supply column, 18 trucks carrying 40,000 gallons of fuel, crawled along the only road the Americans hadn't cut. The road was narrow, forest on both sides. The convoy commander, Hauptmann Peter Vogel, had one job: get this fuel to the King Tigers 30 kilometers north. Without it, 15 tanks would be immobile by nightfall. He pushed the column to 25 mph. Faster than safe, but desperation has its own speed limit. The truck drivers heard the engines before they saw them. That sound. Deep. Powerful. American radials. One driver, 19-year-old Johann Fischer, looked up. 8 dots in the southern sky, getting bigger. He grabbed his radio. Luftwaffe? His commander's response was a single word. Run. Fischer jumped from his truck, still moving, and sprinted for the tree line. He made it 15 meters before the world became fire. O'Donnell's wingman later described it. We came in from the sun. They never saw us until the first guns opened up. 8 P-47s. 8. 50 caliber machine guns each. That's 64 machine guns, each gun firing 800 rounds per minute. The mathematics of destruction, 51 200 bullets per minute. The convoy didn't have a minute. It had 20 seconds. The first truck, carrying 2,400 gallons of high-octane fuel, took 47 rounds in 3 seconds. The bullets didn't just puncture the tank, they vaporized the fuel into mist. Then came tracer rounds. Every fifth bullet burned phosphorus. The mist ignited, but gasoline mist doesn't burn. It explodes. The truck didn't explode. It became the explosion, a fireball 60 feet in diameter, 2,400 gallons of fuel releasing its energy in 1 second instead of 1,000 hours. The second truck was 30 feet behind the first. The thermal wave, 2,000 degrees moving at the speed of sound, reached it before the driver could brake. He had time to see his windshield melt. Then his face melted. The third truck's driver tried to reverse. His truck was loaded with 2,200 gallons. The heat ignited his cargo before he found reverse gear. The fourth, fifth, sixth trucks, all within 100 meters, went up in sequence like dominoes made of fire. 40,000 gallons of fuel doesn't just burn, it vaporizes the air itself. The explosion created a vacuum. Air rushed in, fed the fire, created a firestorm with its own weather. American forward observers 12 miles away in Bastogne saw the column of smoke, black, 4,000 feet high. They radioed, "Fuel convoy eliminated. Secondary explosions for 40 minutes. That fuel was supposed to keep 15 King Tigers moving for 3 days. Now it was smoke and ash and the smell of melted rubber. Johann Fischer, the driver who jumped, survived with third-degree burns over 40% of his body. American medics found him 2 days later. He kept saying one thing, "Das Feuer hat geatmet." The fire breathed. He was right. 40,000 gallons of fuel contains 5.6 billion joules of energy, released in 90 seconds instead of distributed over weeks. The fire didn't just breathe, it consumed oxygen faster than the air could replenish it. Men 200 meters away suffocated before they burned, but the P-47s weren't done. O'Donnell's flight had coordinates for 3 more convoys. By 1800 hours, they'd found all 3. Total fuel destroyed, 180,000 gallons. That's enough fuel for the entire German heavy tank force to advance, and then sit still, forever. The math was brutal. 45 King Tigers times 200 gallons per refuel equals 9,000 gallons per fill-up. 20 refills worth of fuel, gone in 6 hours of airstrikes, and the closest German fuel depot, 80 miles behind enemy lines across roads the Americans controlled. Ative o sininho, porque o que acontece quando King Tigers ficam sem combustível é de partir o coração. December 23rd. The radio intercepts started. American intelligence listening to German frequency 4.175 Hz. The first message came at 6:30 hours. A King Tiger commander near Hufvudstaden request immediate fuel resupply. Tanks at 15% capacity cannot execute maneuver. Response from German command. No fuel available. Conserve. Hold position. Hold position. The most powerful tank on Earth. Told to sit still, to wait. By 1200 hours, the messages were desperate. We are abandoning Tank 214. Fuel exhausted. Demolition charges set. Tank 301 immobile. Fuel zero. Crew evacuating on foot. American radio operators, trained to stay professional, started logging the intercepts with notes. One wrote, "They sound like us at Kasserine. But worse, at Kasserine we could retreat." 1430 hours. The message that broke hearts on both sides. "This is Tank 441. Enemy approaching. Cannot maneuver, cannot retreat. We are out of..." Static. American triangulation placed Tank 441 in grid 71 Gamma. A patrol found it 3 days later. The crew had set demolition charges, but they'd run out of time to light them. The tank was intact. The crew was still inside, dead from American fire. but the fuel gauge read 0. But the Americans had their own nightmare. In Bastogne, surrounded by Germans, the 101st Airborne was dying. Not from bullets, from cold. The temperature had dropped to 4 degrees. Supply drops were missing the drop zone. Snow made everything look the same from the air. Men were eating snow to survive, drinking melted ice from shell craters. Medical Officer Captain Eugene Rowe reported, "We have 73 cases of trench foot, 34 severe frostbite. We need winter clothes, blankets, fuel for heat." In that order. Commander Anthony McAuliffe sent a supply request via radio. "Require winter gear immediately. Men freezing faster than Germans are killing them." The Germans intercepted it, offered surrender, medical care, hot food, warmth. McAuliffe's response became legend. Nuts! But alone in his command post, he looked at the casualty reports. The cold was winning where tanks had failed. December 24th, 0200 hours. Private James McKinley, 101st Airborne, hadn't slept in 40 hours. Not from fear, from shivering. His body couldn't stop shaking long enough to sleep. He'd wrapped himself in a dead German's coat, still freezing. His foxhole, dug into frozen earth, had 2 inches of ice at the bottom. He lay in it. Because the alternative was being visible. Being visible meant death. At 0400 hours, a sergeant named Bill Harper had an idea born from desperation. The Germans had abandoned a King Tiger 400 meters from American lines. Fuel empty, crew gone. But that tank had fuel tanks, empty fuel tanks. Harper knew something about tanks. Before the war, he'd worked in a Detroit auto plant. He knew that empty tanks always have residue, fumes, maybe a gallon of liquid in the baffles. Harper took 4 men. They crawled 400 meters through snow, reached the King Tiger, Tank 301, according to its designation. The fuel cap was frozen shut. They spent 20 minutes getting it open with a bayonet and a lighter. Harper dropped a rag into the tank, pulled it out. It was wet, soaked. He smelled it. Diesel. Maybe 3 gallons still in the tank. They spent an hour siphoning it into jerry cans. 3 gallons of German fuel from a tank that had been abandoned because it was empty. It was back in the American lines. Harper poured that fuel into a metal drum, added wood, lit it. The warmth, the first real warmth in 6 days, made grown men cry. Private McKinley put his hand 6 inches from the flame. The heat hurt. His frozen fingers screamed as blood flow returned. He didn't care. 20 men crowded around one burning barrel fueled by German diesel. The irony was poetry. The tanks built to kill them were now keeping them alive. Word spread. Other patrols went to other abandoned King Tigers, Tank 214, Tank 441, Tank 327, each one empty but holding 2 to 4 gallons in the baffles. By December 25th, the 101st Airborne had scrounged 80 gallons of German fuel. It wasn't much, but burning in drums, it kept 400 men from freezing to death. The King Tigers, even dead, were still part of the battle, just fighting for the wrong side now. Meanwhile, Hauptmann Hans Fenner, the King Tiger ace from Chinon, was facing his own mathematics of death. December 24th, 1800 hours. He'd killed 23 American tanks total, 23, but his fuel gauge read 8%. He calculated 70 tons at 8% fuel, combat conditions, winter terrain, 12 miles, maybe. His orders: advance to Bastogne, 19 miles northwest. He radioed command, cannot execute, insufficient fuel. The response was predictable: you will execute, abandon tank only as last resort. Fenner made a decision. He shut down all non-essential systems, turret hydraulics off, manual traverse only, radio to minimum power, heater off, the crew temperature inside the tank, 20 degrees. They were freezing, but the fuel gauge moved slower. He calculated, if he moved at exactly 7 mpg, used no turret power, no heater, and the road stayed flat, he might make 14 miles, still 5 miles short, but closer. His gunner Weber asked, and then? Fenner didn't answer. There was no answer. 3 miles in, the engine stuttered. Driver Zimmerman whispered, Scheisse. The fuel gauge dropped below 5%. They were in grid 71 Gamma, middle of nowhere, no cover, no support, just a 70-ton paperweight. Fenner checked his map. The nearest German position, 18 kilometers. The nearest fuel, 30 kilometers. The nearest hope, nowhere. He ordered, "Prepare demolition charges. We scuttle her." His gunner Weber, who'd lived in that tank for 8 months, slept in it, killed from it, nearly died in it, saluted, started rigging explosives. But his hands shook, not from cold, from having to destroy the machine that had kept him alive through Normandy, through France, through Belgium. He placed charges on the gun breech, on the engine, on the ammunition storage, each charge placed carefully, reverently, almost like a burial. But then they heard something. American engines, Shermans. 4 of them, distance, maybe 2,000 meters and closing. Fenner's mind raced through options. They had maybe 3 shots before the 80D millimeters hydraulic system failed completely. 3 shots, no maneuver, no retreat, no fuel to power the turret more than twice. He looked at his crew, Weber, Schmidt, Zimmermann, men who trusted him for 8 months. He made a decision, not about victory, about dignity. Manual traverse, we fight. His crew, understanding this was suicide with extra steps, responded instantly. Weber and Schmidt grabbed the hand cranks, started rotating the 19-ton turret manually. It took 4 men, 60 seconds for 90 degrees of rotation. The Shermans were flanking, of course they were. Americans always flanked now. Fenner had taught them that lesson himself. Now it was killing him. The Shermans split, 2 left, 2 right. Textbook. Fenner chose the left group. Weber and Schmidt cranked. The turret moved. Agonizingly slow. The hydraulic system was dead. This was pure muscle. 58 seconds to rotate 87 degrees. Close enough. Fenner aimed. No computer, no rangefinder, just eyeball and experience. Distance, 800 meters. He fired. The shot, aimed manually, calculated by a man who'd made 47 kills, missed by 6 feet. The shell hit dirt between 2 Shermans. Both stopped, confused. A king tiger that missed. Fenner's crew reloaded manually, 43 seconds. A lifetime. His second shot hit a Sherman's track. Mobility kill, not destruction. The crew bailed. The Sherman sat there, wounded, not dead. Fenner tried to reload for shot 3. The gun breech, operated by hydraulic assist, was stuck. Weber tried to force it manually. The mechanism was designed for hydraulic pressure, not human strength. It wouldn't budge. The most powerful tank gun on Earth. Jammed, dead, useless. The remaining 3 Shermans circled. They knew. They could see the King Tiger's turret hadn't moved in a minute, couldn't move. Fenner grabbed the radio. One last message. "This is Tank 441. Grid 71 Gamma, fuel exhausted, gun disabled. To whoever finds this, we were not defeated by better tanks. We were defeated by..." An American 76mm shell through the engine deck cut him off mid-sentence. The explosion consumed the radio. The message ended with static. American crews never heard how the sentence ended. But Fenner had been writing in a journal every day since Normandy. His last entry, found by American troops 3 days later, completed the thought. "We were defeated by mathematics. They had more tanks, more fuel, more everything. We had the best tank. They had infinity. Infinity wins." The journal had 87 pages of tank combat, tactics, numbers, observations. The last page was that single paragraph, unfinished, the pen still on the page. December 26th. The count was brutal. Of the 45 King Tigers that entered the Ardennes, 23 destroyed by American forces in direct combat, 16 abandoned due to fuel exhaustion, 6 mechanical breakdown during withdrawal. American tank losses, 733 Shermans. But here's the equation Germany couldn't solve. Those 733 Shermans replaced within 3 weeks. Actually, 850 new Shermans arrived. They replaced losses with interest. Those 45 King Tigers represented 15% of Germany's entire heavy tank production for 1944. Gone forever. Each King Tiger took 300,000 man-hours to build. Skilled labor, precision tooling, Krupp steel. Each Sherman took 10,000 man-hours. Semi-skilled labor, assembly line production. The math was always wrong. The Germans just took 10 days to realize it. But there's one number that reveals everything. American tank production, December 1944, 1,154 tanks. German production, same month, all types, 385 tanks. For every King Tiger Germany built, America built 38 Shermans. For every Tiger crew trained over 6 months, America trained 50 Sherman crews in 6 weeks. For every gallon of fuel Germany scraped together, America had 100. The King Tiger wasn't defeated by superior firepower. It was defeated by multiplication, by industrial mathematics that no amount of armor could stop. The final fuel audit tells the story. Total King Tiger operational hours in the Ardennes, approximately 2,800 hours across all vehicles. Total fuel consumed, 670,000 gallons. Total fuel available after December 23rd, 14,000 gallons. That's 2% of what they needed. 2%. The most feared weapon of World War II died of math. January 1945. The Bulge was American again. Frozen fields littered with abandoned King Tigers. Perfect condition. Pristine even. Just empty. Fuel tanks bone dry. German engineers had built the world's deadliest tank. American logistics had starved it to death. Engineers from Ordnance Corps studied them, measured the armor, tested the gun, calculated the ratios. Their report summary: vehicle represents pinnacle of tank design, tactically superior to all Allied armor, strategically irrelevant. Strategically irrelevant. 6 words that ended the King Tiger's legend. Because tactical perfection means nothing when strategy is broken. The King Tiger could kill anything, but it couldn't be everywhere. Couldn't fight without fuel. Couldn't be replaced when destroyed. It was the world's best answer to a question nobody was asking anymore. The question wasn't, how do we build the perfect tank? It was, how do we build enough tanks? Germany answered the first question. America answered the second. The survivors, the American tankers who faced these steel monsters, never said they won because their tanks were better. Ask them today and they'll tell you something else, something simpler, something true. We won because Jerry brought 45 of the world's best tanks to a fight that needed 400, and fuel for 800. The Germans built kings, Americans built armies. One is impressive, the other wins wars. There's a King Tiger in the Bastogne Museum now. Tank 301, the one that radioed fuel 0 before the crew walked away, the one that gave its last fuel to keep Americans warm. It sits there, immaculate, terrifying even in stillness. The placard reads, destroyed by logistics failure, December 1944. Not by Shermans, not by American guns, by empty tanks and cut roads and burning supply convoys and mathematics nobody could fight. The weapon that defeated the King Tiger wasn't a better tank. It was a calculator, and the cold, and industrial capacity, and pilots who turned fuel convoys into firestorms, and tank crews who learned to count to 44, and desperation that turned abandoned enemy fuel into survival, and the simple, brutal equation that infinity beats perfection. Every time. Subscribe to see more stories of how the underdog kept rewriting the ending. 2 videos every single day, because history's greatest victories weren't won with better weapons. They were won by making the enemy's best weapons irrelevant. Hit that notification bell because the next impossible victory drops in 12 hours. And trust me, you won't see it coming.